posted at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, we started the televised portion of our meeting. 7 o'clock, we have opening bids for the work for the Memorial Library. Was Ernie supposed to be here?
No, I'm just gonna hand those to you this morning.
So, I thought Rich said we were expecting like 5 of them or 7 of them?
I thought he said 3.
3.
Oh, really? I thought he said there was a bunch of them.
Yeah, I thought he said he was at least 5 is what he thought.
So all we got was 3? All right, this one here has been submitted by contracting specialists of 453 South Main Street, Attleboro, Mass. There's a bid here for $253,250. And then it goes on to,
Looks like they asked for a breakdown because I've got the exact same breakdown.
looks like there's a breakdown, reconstruct front stairs, $98,600. Chimney repairs, $35,110. Repoint masonry joints, $383,000. $38,383.
Say,
Stone repair, $10,329. And other work not listed above, $70,828.
Got one from Tito Masonry and Construction LLC, for a total bid of $109,800. Phase 1 with the front stairs is $22,000. Phase 2, chimney repairs, $19,000. Rake and repoint masonry joints, $29,300. Stone repair, $39,500. Other work not listed above, 0.
mine is from Atlantic Restoration of Chelmsford for $260,000. $95,000 for the stairs, $38,000 for the chimney, $45,000 for masonry joints, $10,000 for stone repairs, $72,000 for other work.
Okay. I think Rich, who's unable to attend, requested us to send these over to Ernie, for Ernie to take a look at them.
I believe he's sending them back to the engineering company so that they can review all the bids and make sure that
I would make a motion to forward the bids to the appropriate person and have them come back with a recommendation.
Any discussion?
I'll second the motion.
Oh, we already got a second, but thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Pass those over to Susan for me. Okay. Kim, welcome. Can you come on up? How about right here? Be great. Appreciate you coming in. We pretty much adopted a policy of anybody that the board appoints, that we have them come in, meet with us, kind of tell us a little bit about themselves, why they're interested in the position, and so if you could.
I'd be happy to. Kim Donahue, I've lived in Kingston for about 2 years now. I just recently volunteered for the 325th committee. and work closely with Lynn. She mentioned the budget committee and thought it might be a good fit. Currently, I'm an assistant vice president for a financial company in Concord, so I deal with large budgets every day. Currently, I manage probably 22 million in budget, so I'm quite familiar with budget responsibility and fiscal responsibility. So I thought I could be a good fit and that I could possibly help the committee. So if you can use me, I'm here to help.
Great. I understand, did the budget committee have its first meeting?
They did last night, so I would like to take a second to, first of all, thank you for stepping up to the plate and offering that. And you kind of, just so you know, I know you kind of been ping-pong back and forth. It had nothing to do with you, it's just that the outgoing chair, who's no longer the chair, kind of appointed you, so we felt it would be best for the board to appoint you, and they did that last night. I know you were itching to be there last night and everything else. I will say she's already signed up to do the NHMA workshop that starts on Wednesday. I thank you for signing up for that. That's my newest question. I'll be asking volunteers on, or any appointment on board, if they're gonna do the NHMA training, because I feel that's something we need to do, is educate the people on the boards as much as we can. So I just wanna let you know, your name has been here, that appointment letter's been here like 6 times. We're just waiting for the municipal budget committee to meet, so I appreciate you holding out and stepping up.
I figured there was some process that I'd go through eventually.
Anybody got any more questions for Kim?
I'd make a motion on behalf of the budget committee to appoint Kim Donahue to the budget committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Welcome aboard, thank you.
Very much appreciate it, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We're gonna give you this, and if you got a minute, could you go downstairs to Tammy, and she'll swear you in?
Okay, wonderful.
That way there we can take care of it all tonight.
I appreciate it.
Axel Prophet may be reaching out to you too, because he was the elected
Last time,
chair.
yes.
He already did?
He invited me to the meeting 6 minutes after it started. So I couldn't make last night, but
And you just have her make a copy of that for us.
okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Take care.
Nice meeting you. Okay. In here, we have in our packet, we have a current use change for the Bresnahan property.
Land use.
Taking it out of current use, yep, taking it out of current use because of the development that has taken place on the property. It's valued at $520,000 with a 10% tax, a total of $52,000.
Just a question, shouldn't they have to do that before they start working and doing permits?
It's usually, I think they,
When there's enough work that I believe that triggers it, it
yeah,
brings it out of
basically when
current
they break
use.
ground, but I think they just have to pay it in a timely manner.
Yeah, I think it's when substantial construction has taken place that it is no longer able to be in current
Eligible.
use.
The assessor has a certain amount of time to take care of that. Right away.
Okay, we have Lisa and Ray are on at 7:30. Does anybody have any objection to taking it now? Come on up.
Here,
Yeah, that'd be great, just so you, either way, well, this way here, you both can have a microphone.
Thanks for having us back.
Nice and close.
Okay, we have, let me see. I guess you supplied us with some additional information. After the last action we took, our inspectors felt that the lots had been voluntarily merged when I guess when it was the building permit was pulled?
I think that's what they were thinking. Between planning and inspectors, I'm not sure who said what, but I think the thought was when the house went in, that's when they were,
Because it utilized both lots for at least for the well radius to fit on
one thing, yeah.
the property. And I don't think, we couldn't find any record that there was ever billed as two separate lots, right?
They're always billed together and always on one deed.
So it was on one deed, so even though it called it out, it was never billed as two separate building lots.
Right, they came right from the big tract of land, and then they moved to another owner, and then they were separated, but the two, 14 and 15 were together on the deed all the way through. If that makes sense.
Okay, so that was,
So I guess I was having trouble finding anywhere that they were merged, it seemed like they were always together. So that's the timeline I gave you. Was
based on that there weren't two separate property tax bills at any time?
Right.
Okay. I think, did everybody get a copy of that? Yeah. So what's the report here on tax redemption? Was the property taken for back taxes at one time?
Sure, that's what they found in the tax collector's office. That's one document that shows both 14 and 15 listed there. That's when somebody redeemed, I think it was Greenwood Development. There must have been back taxes due. They redeemed it, and then shortly after it was sold to the other group of people. As best as I can piece it together, there are some tax warrants missing in the tax office.
Okay. Lynn, you come in to enlighten us?
I hope so.
Go ahead.
Okay. You know, I don't think about how old I am until I need to remember something that happened 40 years ago. Oh, is it on? Until I need to remember something that happened 40 years ago. But in the late 60s and early 70s, the school-age population in our part of Rockingham County was exploding. 1971, the schools went into double sessions. The town was looking for a way to slow growth. And like many towns in the area, the residents believed 2-acre zoning was a solution. And they passed 2-acre zoning in 1977. What is interesting when they passed it, and we do have a copy here, if you'd like to see it, of the vote taken that day.
Yeah, we have it.
You have it, okay.
Yep.
What was interesting is that the existing lots were grandfathered, and they could be built on even though they didn't meet the 2-acre lot qualifications. However, if two adjacent lots that were undersized shared a common continuous frontage on a street, they were merged by the town.
I guess, can I ask you, where do you see that as merged? Because that's the trick part.
Okay, so what you do is if you look at the older maps and all the old stuff, which we have here to show you, you'll see that they were all individual lots. The biggest area that was hit was Ridgewood. Other areas that were hit were Riverwood. And in fact, some people anticipated this passing. So there was one developer who took all the lands that all the lots that he owned, and he put one in his name, one in his daughter's name, one in the other daughter's name, the next one in his name, throughout Ridgewood, so that he could build on those lots, rather than having them merged involuntarily. So the entire Ridgewood subdivision that had been approved, 39 lots north of Rock Rimmon Road, not the ones that front on Rock Rimmon Road. Most of those have been built on, but the ones beyond that, and I have the maps to show you, approved, recorded at the registry. 39 lots were all owned by Ruth Ellis. And Ruth Ellis wasn't paying taxes on them, as you can see here, but they were listed as separate lots. When this law passed, those 39 lots were involuntarily merged. So she sold all the remaining land in Ridgewood to Greenwood Development Company, which was a company that was owned by 4 Kingston residents. One was my father, one was Donald's uncle Ken, one was Morris Aiken, and the last was David Gould, who was a builder. And they had to totally redesign the whole northern development and ended up with 20 lots that are currently on White Drive, Ridgewood Drive, and Black Alder. But that left these lots that were involuntarily merged scattered throughout Ridgewood and also throughout some of Great Palm Park, some of Powell River Road, some of New Boston Road area. Some of those were all involuntarily merged. And so basically, what we have here is, you can see, obviously you've read the deeds. They're always noted as 2 lots in the deeds. We have the tax bills that show that at least for the years 73, 74, 75, they were all 2 lots. When my father-in-law and his wife purchased the lot that they actually own now and built the house there, they had been involuntarily merged at that time. A lot of people were upset about it. And that's why I remember it so well, was remembering all the conversation in town about people that were upset, that felt that the value of their property had been taken away. So if you want to sort of move ahead to this decade, what we found was this had happened throughout the state of New Hampshire. So legislators in Concord decided to address this, and a bill came forth that said that if lots were involuntarily merged, they could be demerged. You'd have to prove that the town would have to prove, the municipality would have to prove that the lots had not been voluntarily merged, did not have a voluntarily merger agreement or something on file at the registry showing that they were voluntarily merged. One of the things I did was I asked, because my memory and your vote a week ago Friday didn't jive, I came to Town Hall and I asked the Planning Board office if they would show me the 1975 map. And they showed me the 1975 map, but on the bottom of that map, it said revised to 1991, stamped on the bottom of all the pages. So what you thought were voluntarily merged lots prior to 1977, really, instead of looking at a 1975 map, I believe you were looking at a 1991 map. Since this, in the last 4, 5, 6 years, we've had 3 lots that I know of in the Rock Rimmon area that have been demerged. There was the originally McClinchy and then the Hume property that was broken up into 3 lots. One of the lots had the house, one of the lots had a barn for their miniature ponies, and the other lot was vacant, but they were demerged. 2 lots at the end of Rock Rimmon Road, the last 2 on the right, just prior to the Tower Road, were demerged, and houses have been built on those 2 lots. The last one that I'm aware of in this neighborhood that was demerged was at the corner of Winslow Park and Rock Rimmon Road. The Gerards came in and asked, they had 3 lots, and they asked that 2 of those lots, the one closest to Winslow Park Road, be demerged, and that was done as well. So there's a precedent of it happening in this particular neighborhood, under the same rules, the same time frame of when they were involuntarily merged. And I believe Mrs. Koppelus is just respectfully requesting that you look into this a little further and perhaps rescind your vote of a week ago Friday.
Thank you, Lynn.
I think we got this from what, the planning board office? This was from NHMA. Is there anything else to keep in mind about lot merger? Occasionally, an owner will cause lot merger by behavior that indicates abandonment of the separate identity of adjacent lots. The classic case is Robalid versus Hudson, where the owner of 2 adjoining lots built a duplex dwelling on one lot where the lots individually lacked the area of frontage required for a duplex. If it was held the owner had used both lots to satisfy zoning standards for the duplex and had thus abandoned the separate existence of the lot. I think, did we find anywhere that, the taxes, you know, I see this here, looks like, I know this calls them out separately.
Yeah, if you look at this tax bill.
But it says U-1248 and U-1248, so not 2 separate lots. It says, like, parcels, B-14 and B-15, but it still shows it as one tax bill, not 2 separate tax bills, I believe.
Well, if you look to the right, you'll see that one of those tax bills was for $39.78, and the other was for $58.09.
Which makes sense because the second one is bigger than the first one.
What I would say is, I'd like to look at the other 3 that were done, okay? And under what circumstances those were done, versus just blindly saying something tonight. I want to look at those 3 to see the circumstances behind, because each one, even under the statute, is supposed to be looked at individually. So I would like to look at those 3. And I'll ask you, what were the 3 properties? So I can do my own research.
It's,
4 Toppin Road was
4 Toppin.
separated.
yeah,
Yep.
that was the main lot, the one with
And-
the house.
Correct, and the other 2 lots are on Colcord Road.
I think they're 9 and 11 or 11 and
Yeah.
13.
I think it's 9 and 11 are all part of that same deed, original deed.
4 Toppin, 9 and 11 Concord.
Right, that's all one. That was separated in 2017.
Okay. And those are the 3 that you're basing on for precedent, right?
But that's
one.
one.
Oh, well, I,
Well, that one clearly mimics
Yeah.
the deed it's written exactly, almost identical to mine, in that there's one deed and reference to individual lots.
Okay.
And we spent a lot of time with that, with the selectmen and with the town assessor, before they decided that that was the way to move forward. There was a good deal of research done at that time on that one lot, as it was broken into the three. The next lot, I don't know the street number. I want to say it's 52 or 54 and 56 on the left-hand side of Rock Rimmon Road. You'll see them right at the corner of Winslow Park and Rock Rimmon Road. You'll see the brand-new house there, and then you'll see the house that Norm Hurley used to live in. Those were Norm Hurley's 3 lots. And then the last one is, if you go straight up Ball Road, you'll see the 2 new houses at the top of the road, right up on Rock Rimmon Road, and those are the other 2. So there's 3 different instances that's happened.
So Norm Hurley's house, that house, and then the one, which other one?
Okay, on Norm Hurley, it's Norm Hurley's house.
Yeah,
and then
the
new
one
to
that,
the
yeah, the
left.
house that just got built.
So if you go straight up Ball Road,
Those up on the hill?
goes up on the hill.
Okay.
Yep. Right at the end of Ball Road, at the corner of.
But-
Rock Rimmon.
I'm curious, those 2, I think though they're not they're big lots though, right?
No?
They're not?
Same as everybody else's, yep. All the same.
So, Susan, what's this here? Septic plan dated October 1st, 1979 shows lots combined as one, and a note that reads, layout taken from plan provided by R. Merrill. Lots are combined as one lot of record prior to 1967.
That's what it says on the septic plan. We're not sure what that means exactly, except for it seems to show that they were lots of record, one lot of record since then, but I can't find any backup for that to say this is when it changed. I can't find anything to really.
And that was prior to 67?
That's what the note says. The septic plan itself was from, I forget, you just said, it was when they were preparing, right before it was sold to Lois Merrill. October 1st, 79. That's the septic plan. Then the lots were sold together to Lois Merrill in December of 79. And the building permit application for the house came in 1980.
And I guess that's where I have a stumbling block on this whole thing, because there is something called merger by conduct. And in that building permit, it specifically wrote lot 14 and 15. That supplied the 335 feet of frontage. So both lots were utilized to get the building permit. And NHMA and numerous other people consider that a merger by conduct. So in order to get the building permit, both lots were used. So based on that, I don't see that it was involuntarily merged.
And what you're saying is,
It was
they
involuntary.
wanted to put a building permit there, and the town wouldn't have let them because of this ordinance that got passed, merging lots with contiguous frontage that were undersized.
Right. The lots had already been merged by the involuntarily merger by 1979.
Or do you see that change, though? Do you see where?
Well, we see
anything
where there were,
went through?
we see where there were 2 lots,
There's two
clearly on the
lots
tax
still.
bill and on the plan in 1976. And then in 1977, they suddenly show up as merged. Or at least when the next deeds came, they showed up as merged. I haven't seen a tax bill for a 77, or 78, because it happened at 77.
I see them showing the same on the deeds all the way through. They show both 14 and 15 all
Right.
the way back,
Mm-hmm.
and they still do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the change, and I was trying to find out when it changed to lot 48, and I can't find that.
None of them did. None of these other 3 lots show a change at any point in time. They were all just, when 1977 happened and that passed, by 1978, they all became one lot. That's why when you look at the maps, you can see they have the original lots in there, and then you see them merged into one.
I have a copy of the septic design. It's faded. You really can't make much sense out of it. But it does say right here that it was amended in May of 1983. So whatever you're going to base your decision on with what was in my tax card, in the office, I feel is is speculation in some regard. And then this shows an amendment to that septic design. I can't make sense of what that means, and I don't know that you would be able to either.
Wouldn't an amendment to a septic design just mean they changed the design of the septic?
I don't know. Kevin, it could mean anything, just like the notes that you're referring to on the original design.
Well, if a building permit was applied for utilizing both lots, I don't think that's really up to interpretation. Both lots were utilized to get the building permit, which is the definition of merger by conduct.
But how do you know that both lots were actually
The
needed?
owner wrote lot 14 and 15, block B1 lot.
Because they had become one lot by involuntary merger.
Okay, but
They had become one lot. Therefore, they were considered one lot because they had become one lot. He didn't ask for them to become one lot. He pulled the building permit for the lot that existed at that time.
But when the building permit was pulled, in order to meet the zoning requirements, they had to apply for the permit utilizing lot 14 and 15.
They were already one lot at that point, is what we're trying to
Okay, well,
say.
they specifically called out lot 14 and 15 to get the well radius and the frontage required for a building permit.
I guess what does concern me is this report of tax sale redemption 73, 74, and 75. It does show 14 and 15, but it does also reference U12, 48A, and 48. And it's curious to me why it's got two different prices if it wasn't recognized as separate lots.
I'll tell you one problem I had is I saw that, and I saw the deeds going forward, but the tax warrants are not available for, what year was that? That tax redemption was in
70,
76. And I could see, forget which ones are missing, like, when you get past 76, there's a couple years missing, just when I wanted to see how they were taxed. We don't have that.
so I mean, to me, that kind of indicates, if I'm reading this correctly, that at that point it was recognized
Well, they're still looking at the whole old map, too.
as two.
But I would also like to bring to your attention the entire plan for Rock Rimmon Road North for the Ridgewood Association, and the fact that one of those roads is Severance Place. And down here, we again see all the lots for Severance Place, and the fact that they're all now involuntarily merged.
I don't think we have that, but what you're showing me, what you're talking about. Do we?
No, we don't have that map.
Here's the plan. And if you look down here, you'll see that all of these lots are again listed. All of this that was involuntarily merged into one parcel that had to be re-subdivided before it was developed again.
And when it was re-subdivided, it was redone on full-size lots?
Yes. Yes, because the town had involuntarily merged it at the same time that they involuntarily merged this, and had to, and therefore, because it was involuntarily merged, if they wanted to develop it, they could not use the existing lots. They had all been owned by one person, that they had to engineer the entire property. That's where they went from 39 lots to 20 lots. And that happened in several other areas of town as well, at the same time. And if you remember, the only other thing about your substandard lot, if you look into what the town passed as the zoning law, it said, in structures, any district in which structures are permitted, a structure may be erected on each lot, which was a lot of record at the date of adoption or amendment of this ordinance, even though such lot fails to meet the requirements for area or width of both that are applicable in the district, except for those that are contiguous.
So this map you're showing us here,
The plan.
this plan,
a town-approved plan recorded at the registry.
This shows it as one lot, right?
It is now one lot, yes.
This plan shows it as one, right? 24?
No, no.
Am I reading this incorrectly?
Is that a septic plan?
Yes, sir.
So big.
So, this is Rock Rimmon Road.
Okay.
These are all the house lots that were built on Rock Rimmon Road.
Yeah,
This was all to be north of Rock Rimmon Road.
This is my
This
35
was
years old.
all
Can't really see
involuntarily
anything.
merged. So now they have the road going up here
Septic's at the front.
to Ridgewood and White, and the road going up here to Black Alder.
okay, where's her lot? Is
Her
it
lot's
up?
over here.
Okay. So
Oh,
that's
all right,
nothing to do
yeah,
with
it
that.
has, okay.
Her lot's over
be-
here.
the-
There's nothing to, it's just, these were all involuntarily merged at the same time that her lot was involuntarily.
Well, these meet the correct specification though, right?
No, none of those do.
200 feet? Oh, okay, this is
No,
150,
no, no, no.
130.
No. These are all the same size as the rest of Rock Rimmon. This was all the original Rock Rimmon development north of Route. north of
Okay, so this,
Rock
you're saying this is the original prior to being merged?
Rimmon. Correct.
Okay. And do we have one now?
You have a town map that shows.
They didn't use their lot.
You don't have that section though? The correct section before?
This is, I have the original subdivision for our lots.
Yeah.
From
Yeah,
Route-
that's what you, okay.
Which is, yes, that right there, yep.
So yeah, all you have to do is look at the town tax map, and you'll see what's there now.
What's that?
It's the 80s that I was using it for. It's one tax bill in 78, 79 and 80. But 81, 82, 83, 85, 86 are missing, so I couldn't look.
Well, how about 70,
78 and 79. 79 and, yeah.
we got a tax bill from
Those we
78?
have the tax warrants, we don't have the tax bills, but the tax warrant, they sent them out as one bill showing both, you could see, 14 and 15.
One bill.
But one bill.
Okay, how about 76?
76, I didn't look at. 76 is when that tax redemption came through, so,
Well, this says 73, 74, 75. Okay, it's date stamped from Rockingham on September 76?
right, that's when they were redeemed. And I can't remember if I tried to go backwards, if I didn't have that year or not, I can take another look.
That septic system, that's very hard to read because it's so faded, but it looks like they put all the septic in the corner of one lot, so they didn't use both lots.
But then they put the well in the other lot,
Right.
so.
And I kind of want to go back to what Kevin said, that the reason I made the motion to approve this the first meeting was that they had just done it on Toppin. So to go back and see why they did it on Toppin, to me, would be a big thing.
That's what I'd rather do. I'd rather, I know you're itching, I'd like to get it right. I'd like to do the research on these, all these properties. The two on Rock Rimmon Road, on the north side, the one on the south side, the Toppin and the Concord Road.
And that was the reason I wanted to see you get it, was that if it'd been done for somebody else, you should be able to do the same thing.
I appreciate that.
But there could have been different circumstances, and we probably just need to check that. So I was actually interested in that party and was told, in that property, and was told it could not be divided, and then the person bought it and divided it, so.
Oh, really? Well, that, yeah. The Toppin Road one, the Toppin and Concord, we assumed it could be, but we got a lot of good legal advice, and they all told them that yes, it could be, and then the assessor agreed. And it was really, the selectmen pretty much had left the decision to the assessor.
Okay, what's the board's pleasure?
I make the motion, we take it under advisement and get back for another meeting, say in 2 weeks.
We have a meeting next week,
We do.
it's the week after that. We have a meeting in 2 weeks. We skipping what's coming up, there's a holiday coming up.
I just wanna be able to do the research to figure
Yeah.
out, that's all, I don't,
Why don't we schedule it for,
it'd be September 30th, right?
Correct.
Is that the motion?
and I'll second that.
Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, can we schedule them for the agenda for the 30th? And we should definitely be able to render a decision, final decision then. And you're gonna research those other lots?
Yeah.
Yep.
Why are you looking at him?
I'm looking, I thought we were all gonna, but I'll come in and see the planning board and take a look what happened, pull the minutes. See?
There's nothing in the meeting that doesn't matter.
Don't be afraid to include Rich on that, it was his idea too.
What do you say?
Said,
You're
"Don't be
gonna help
afraid
me
to include
research.
you."
I don't mind doing that at all. Or we
Thank
can
you very
call the
much.
planning board and have them research it, and we can come in and look at it.
Well, I don't think the planning board was really involved with that.
At all?
It would've been the selectmen that demerged it, right? So,
Right.
so I would like to look at the minutes and
Based
see.
on,
Planning board wasn't involved in Fort Toppin either?
I
None
don't
of them.
believe so.
Thank you for your reconsideration.
Yes,
No, thank you.
If we pull that property file and see why, see if it went through the same process. as-
Yeah.
Okay, Fire Station Building Committee.
We were expecting Kent Walker, and I think,
Well, he was here earlier.
I know, they have training tonight too, though, so I'm not sure if they're gonna make it.
Oh,
That's fine.
okay.
So I think you know from our work session last week that we spent all Monday afternoon last week interviewing construction management firms. We interviewed 4 firms, all local firms, Bowen, Chapman, Ekman, and Turnstone. Those are firms that have all worked with SMP in the past. They're all currently doing public projects, and I think 3 of the 4 have experience in building fire stations. Any one of them could probably do the job. We went through and did an analysis with the help of SMP, and I provided you a copy of the spreadsheet. There was an addendum to that. There was one of the proposals we didn't realize until we went through the interview process that they included some of the costs in their overall fee, so we had to back those out. But there are really 3 pieces to the fees that were being proposed. There's a pre-construction services that'll take us from now till the vote, and then there's pre-construction services that take us from when the vote passes until we get the GMP, which is the guaranteed maximum price, and then that's when the major part of the fee kicks in. The fee for actually overseeing the building, there's 2 parts to that. There's their what do they actually call it here? Just the construction management fee, and that's a percentage. And you can see that we have a range from 3.5 to 5 on that. The other part of what the construction manager charges to the project is what's called general conditions. That's where, going through this analysis, we had to really try to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. As it turns out, that's a bigger number than their actual fee, and those are the costs associated with running the project on a day-to-day basis for the things that don't get subbed out to subcontractors. So for things like temporary toilets, temporary heat, security fencing, all the things that make the site safe and secure through the duration of the project. And with the help of SMP, we were able to equalize as best we could what those costs were, because there were some, like for example, in Bowen's proposal, they included winter conditions, snow plowing, temporary heat. The other proposals all said that those would be billed at cost, so they weren't included in the number they submitted. And there was a few other things as well. So when it all boiled out, when we equalized those fees and then factored in also the construction management fee, and gave them an equal time frame, because we haven't really figured out what the time frame of the project is going to be yet. It's probably going to be 10 to 12 months, but you know, in that range. And some of these costs are time dependent, so we had to factor that in as well. So at the box on the bottom of that spreadsheet is where SMP said, well, let's come up with a mock project duration of 40 weeks and an amount for the project, even though we don't know that amount yet, and then crunch through the numbers that way. And you can see there's a pretty good range when we get to the bottom line there. And so we going through the interviews. Our recommendation is that we engage Bowen Corporation. They're based in Meredith, New Hampshire.
They did the library, right?
Sorry?
They did the library, right?
They did the library, yes.
Who was that? Bowen?
Bowen, yeah. And that's one of the reasons that they, you know, that they are being recommended. Their costs are projected to be the lowest. They have a lot of experience working with SMP. They did a very good job for us on the library. I was on that project. I don't really remember a whole lot about them because I was just a committee member.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. And, but I did talk to Leslie Hume, who chaired that committee, and she had nothing but good things to say about them. Richard St. Hilaire had good things to say about his interaction with them throughout that project, so.
My only concern, when I look at them, they're at 56 weeks assumed versus the others aren't even.
Yeah, so the way that works is when the RP goes out to these firms, they all have to take their best estimate as to what the duration of the project is going to be. And whoever we bring in to work on the project, between our committee, SMP, and the construction manager, we're gonna figure out what that schedule is going to be. And we talked with SMP about that last week as, part of our discussion after we had the interviews. And that's probably 10 or 11 months is what we're looking at, not 56 weeks.
So if it's less than 56, they credit you back the $4,100 a week?
Yes, yeah. So the general conditions are charged based on actual costs. And it's an open book sort of thing. We can see all the bills that come in for those things and.
No, but what I'm saying is everybody's 35, 40 weeks, 42, and this guy's 56. So if the project only goes 40 weeks
We only pay for 40 weeks.
at the 4120,
Yes.
And again, I wasn't involved when the library got built, but we had no real issues with them of overruns or not getting contractors or.
No, and that was obviously a discussion we had with all of the companies we interviewed about, how do things work in this tight market? And, what Bowen told us certainly squared with what happened on the library project is they have very good relationships with a lot of subcontractors in New Hampshire that they do projects with all the time. They make sure that they get paid on time so that they'll come back and bid on the next project. And they treat them well. I know what Leslie had to say was that the site was spotless throughout the whole process, that they kept it immaculate every day. And
One thing about the library project, I was on that committee too and stayed involved with the project, and we actually had them change 2 of the subcontractors before they started, and they didn't bark at that at all. They were fine with it. You know, they checked on the people and were fine with the people. We had a local person we wanted to use for foundations that was actually less money of somebody they didn't know. And they were
The other
fine
thing to
making that
remember, which
substitute.
is really, I think, a testament to the work they do, is the original construction manager for the library project was a different firm. And I didn't join the committee until the project had passed a vote by the town. And we were a couple weeks beyond the vote, starting to get organized as a committee. And we found out that the original construction manager couldn't get a bond. So Bowen had been the runner-up. So, you know, the library trustees reached out to Bowen and said, are you interested? They basically picked up the budget prepared by the prior company. They reviewed it, they went over it, they said, we'll work with this, and they delivered the project on time and on budget based on somebody else's initial work. So I think that's the kind of work they do.
Why does Turnstone have no money up front?
Yeah, that's a question that came up during the interviews as well. And that's the way a lot of public projects are done in New Hampshire. Certainly that's the way school projects are done. When we built the high school, we had no money. When we worked with the architect firm for that and the construction manager, that project's big enough that they were able to just absorb those costs, and we paid for it, but it was in their fee that they collected as part of the overall project. It looked enticing at first, but, you know, when we went through the analysis, they came closer to Bowen, but they were still higher.
Well, what I'll say, I'm impressed you were able to get 4 GCs to bid on it. I mean, we just look at the library and we anticipated 5 and we got 3. So it's good that you have a good cross-reference for us to look at, so I thank you for that.
Yeah, that's great analysis. It's everything out there. Thank you.
Well, this is, you know, part of the work that we hired SMP to help us with, you know, and by doing the select process, they solicited those firms, it kind of shortened our process. Was a good half day of interviews, but. So really what we're looking for approval for right now is the pre-construction cost, the $7,500. That's the funding that we need for them to develop the budget that we'll be able to use for creating the warrant article. And then there would be an additional $4,500 if the project passes. It'll get us to a GMP, a guaranteed maximum price. And after that is when the percentage fee kicks in for them to manage the project.
I'll make a motion to approve the pre-construction cost of $7,500 to Bowen.
Second.
So let me ask you a question, what happens if the project is different than this 3.9? Do these numbers change?
Oh yeah, the numbers will change, yes. But we will have that between now and I can't remember exactly what the schedule said, but November timeframe.
Is that a realistic number, the 3.9?
I don't know yet. But that number represents, I believe, construction costs, so there will also be soft costs. Things like furniture, fixtures, and equipment, there's some insurances, cost of the bond, you know, so there's another whole budget that has to be developed.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If that comes in at 5 million, does this 323,057 change?
Yes. It changes in two ways, I think. It changes because the percentage for their fee is the same no matter the project value.
So they're gonna want 3.75 on whatever the total cost of the project is?
Correct. And that, the rest of it, shouldn't change based on the cost of the value of the project. It's more the time aspect that would change that.
Okay.
I think a little bit, keeping in mind with the money end of it, that we still have 500 and odd change in the building fund.
Well, not if we take out the,
So,
by the land.
no, that's the warrant article, that's not. So there's still another 500,000 in the building fund money that will go again, I would assume would go against this from the get-go, you know, as to far, or do some minor expenses or do whatever we need to do, so.
Yeah, so we will still have, we'll have the balance of the capital reserve fund after the purchase of the land is taken out of it. Plus, we will have impact fees that will, it won't affect the total cost, but it will affect the tax impact of this project. You know, whatever we have to borrow will be reduced by those amounts.
Well, I guess, I mean, this 375, these percentages, you're just basically taking the 3.9 and dividing it out by these percentage? You're putting those, I don't have a calculator
Yes.
in front of me, but you're putting that percentage on there, right?
Correct.
Which even that 3.75 is one of the better across the board, when you look at the others. I was originally looking at Turnstone for the simple fact of, you know, sometimes you go with low bidder, you get low bidder, but you said there's a history with Bowen, and it seems like you were able to break stuff right out of their price because they were pretty specific on stuff, so I think that goes a long way towards
And
working with them.
what makes it hard to compare the proposals is, you know, some companies will play games with the general conditions and leave things out knowingly,
Yes.
you know, and they try to make them look like they're the lowest cost, and that's where we really relied on SMP to make sure we were doing an apples-to-apples comparison.
Okay, well, we got a motion and a second.
The only problem with the motion is what Bowen is actually asking us to do is to engage them for the project. So, you know, the financial implication of that is, in the short term, the 7,500, but, you know,
Ultimately, it's gonna be another 4,500.
No, they're asking to
Well-
sign us, to enter into a contract,
correct.
which is really open-ended because we don't have the firm number on what the cost of the project is, but based on this mock project, so if the project came in at the 3.9, they're looking for a contract for $323,000, right? But since we don't know what that number is, it's gonna be these fees plus 3.75% of whatever the total cost of the project is. And they're looking for a contract, not just a contract for 7,500 now, right?
Correct. Because they, you know, we want them to be part of the team. Because once we engage a construction manager, they're looking out for our interests. They're trying to help us find the best way to bring this building to a bond vote and then to build it.
How about if I amended my motion to engage into a contract with Bowen General Contractors to build the fire station? And upfront, cost of $7,500 for now.
Obviously, in the contract, there must be an escape clause that if it's not approved by the voters, then the $7,500 is it,
Yeah,
right?
it's a standard AIA contract, so, what is AIA, American Institute of Architects. And I just got this today, and I looked through it quickly, and, basically I think it says, and I haven't studied it thoroughly, but it says we're really committing to that 7,500. If the bond vote goes down, then if we keep working on it, then we would have to negotiate what they would need to do to take it from that point to another vote. And it probably would be some costs involved, but it's not gonna be that full 7,500 again. They would have to update the budgets if we were to wait another year and bring it forward.
I'll second the amendment.
I mean, I thought it included, it was all the same, but if that spells it out better for you to engage with them.
Do we? Let me see. So, in that contract, I guess there would have to be a clause in there that if the voters don't support it, it negates it. And if you're looking to do that now, or if for some reason we're not able to acquire the property, it would also be negated. I mean, we can't enter into a contract, number one, we don't own the property yet.
Yep.
And number two, we can't be guaranteeing a contract on a future vote that we don't know what the outcome is.
Well, just looking at it quickly, it says termination, there's a couple clauses in here for termination. One of them is termination prior to establishment of the GMP. Prior to the execution of the guaranteed maximum price amendment, the owner may terminate this agreement upon not less than 7 days written notice to the construction manager for the owner's convenience and without cause. So,
All right, you think we ought to send the contract to council?
I think actually ultimately, yes, the contract should go to council.
Okay.
I would say risk review maybe, I don't think it needs to go to legal review. Or if you want to send it to legal review, I think yes, it should go.
and then it goes on to say that in the event of termination of this agreement pursuant to that section, the construction manager shall be equitably compensated for pre-construction phase services performed prior to receipt of a notice of termination.
So what I would say is just amend my motion to include legal and risk review.
I'll second.
So you send the contract out, if it comes back from Sumner or Primex, legal and risk, and say, it's all fine, it's standard, I would change this, I would change that, and we could sign it, and move forward. If there's a problem, he'll take it back.
With those two concerns in it, not getting the land and voter approval.
Well, I think it's covered in there,
I
like,
do too, but
Yeah, I think, just my read of that, I think we're covered, but certainly having council look at it makes sense. This is a standard contract that gets used all over the country, so, I mean.
Okay.
Is it possible, though, you were gonna originally take a vote on the 7,500, which ultimately gets them going?
We're gonna still take the vote.
No, I know, but we don't.
Well, I recognize the 7,500, you're out that if the voters don't support
Right.
it.
Our concern is to keep the ball rolling. If it takes 2 or 3 weeks to get this thing back, and we're waiting on the $7,500 to give them the approval, then it just.
yeah, but you
puts
can
us-
still do your work on getting a finalized price from SMP and all that stuff. This is just you can't I would agree with Mark, we just can't sign it per se without at least sending it to the council. It'll take a couple of weeks, we could still move forward on everything. You can tell them, the motion was to approve it
Okay.
pending legal and risk review.
That's fine. We didn't want to hold up telling them to continue to move on with working on getting the figures, because as soon as we can,
They do so much of this work, I'm sure they know what, you know, will meet approval.
So what do you got for a motion there, Susan?
Golly. Let's see. Motion to approve pre-construction cost to Bowen, of $7,500. And then there was some discussion. Amend motion to engage with Bowen to build fire station upfront cost of $7,500. And then there's a question of an escape clause. Need clause about voters not supporting, or for some reason unable to secure the property. So basically, you're approving the $7,500, make a motion to approve the pre-construction cost and the contract,
Pending
vote and
legal. and-
securing the land and legal and, risk review.
Well, I think, actually, who signs the contract? Is it the chairman?
Yes.
Okay, so authorize the chairman of the selectmen to sign the contract, pending legal and risk review.
Well, we're not gonna sign off on the contract till we get it reviewed, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Once it's reviewed, you can sign it.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. What's that?
Sumner?
We
Yeah,
will.
we'll send it, yeah.
Send it. So it's this document, right, that I got? Yep. Electronically, I can send that
With,
easily to him.
with the proposal too.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
the
three, all
actual,
three.
where's the actual contract?
Is that in the middle here, or is that a separate document?
It's all in one.
Yeah, it's on the front.
Yeah, so
you have
it starts with the AA,
It's the first 18 pages.
Okay.
and then their proposal is a supporting document to it.
Mark's name was on my.
I didn't look at it, I just printed it up. Oh, that one, okay. All right, thank you.
So I say send it to Sumner and Primex.
All set? Thank you.
Thanks.
Before they go, if I could ask, the fine gentleman at the end of the table, they changed their meeting to September 25th. And you so graciously volunteered, I have a meeting on that night, so I can't make the 18th, they changed the 18th meeting to the 25th.
So it's gonna be September 25th at the fire station. 6 p.m. I will be there.
Okay, thank you.
I can't hear anything, so.
Turn it off.
Put it on airplane mode?
Pre-construction cost and,
What's that?
so you're saying you're awarding the job to Bowen. You're approving the pre-construction cost and awarding the job
Correct.
pending the vote being positive and the land being secured and legal review.
Oh, yeah. Both Phil
Place
and
a mess, place a mess.
I.
Okay, well, any public comment? Open it up for public comment, hearing none? Okay. update on, from the historic district on the shed.
Going to legal, I get some information on that.
Okay. Take that in non-public. Okay, how do we want to proceed on the electricity?
I had a conversation with Cindy today. She went, we're just buying electricity at rate. This was, they got competitive bids from 2 different companies. It is her recommendation that we go into a 36-month contract. Mind you, it's all pending, 9 organizations buy into it as well. But Cindy thinks it would be good to do. I agree with her. Co-op buying is definitely, and it's always nice to do the competition. The company Constellation we use at the county, we go out to bid every three years or so, and Constellation has always been one of the better companies. We've never had any issues with them. I don't think we should be just paying regular open market.
Did we contact our current supplier to see how much lower they would provide it to us for?
We did not, but I think they can't. The rate's set by the PUC. They can't change the rates on us.
There's a projected rates current, what it would be going to.
I didn't see that.
Should be in the
That's not this, is it?
yeah. Oh, no, not that one, here. I don't know if you've got that.
No, I don't think we... Yeah, no, we do have that. Isn't that the first page?
Oh, it's on the back of this.
Yeah,
Okay, yep,
yeah.
sorry.
But we can't, it's not like we could call Unitil and say, can you give us a break?
Why not?
It's set by the PUC. I don't know.
They're a private company.
So it's what, a half a cent roughly?
Why couldn't we do that?
Tell them it's time for the royalties on that commercial they did about you to come do.
The other thing,
You need a better rate.
The other thing is, this has been in the works for over 3 or 4 months. You never mentioned about doing that, but I don't think you can. But I wish you would have said something sooner. This is all time sensitive now.
Well, I think a phone call would take care of that. I mean, if we can buy it cheaper from somewhere else, we want the cheapest price with the best service that we can get.
Yeah, but in Kingston's covered by 3 different, when you get out to the,
Well, we're only concerned about the town. What do you mean? Unitil is who we buy our electricity
you're right,
from. This
yeah.
ain't
Yeah,
for
just the
the,
town.
this ain't for the
you're
residents.
right, you're right.
So, maybe we can twist their arms and get it a little cheaper.
Where was, I didn't see a signature form. Was there a signature?
No, because the next thing is to authorize Cindy to enter in the contract with them.
Right, because it won't be till September 25th. You won't know the final cost until September 25th, that day. So you have to have someone ready, authorized to sign maybe up to a certain amount, if you want to do it that way.
So if you want to make a phone call, but I wish you would have done that sooner,
Well, I
because
didn't know what, this is the first.
Sure, give them a call.
All right,
we'll take it up next week, because we're still within the time frame.
you got it. If they can't come anywhere near it, they can't.
Okay. Everybody comfortable with that? Yes. Take action on it next week? Committee liaison reports. What do we have anything under new business?
I didn't.
No, haven't had any new meetings since last week.
Okay, any updates from the liaisons?
Say no new meetings since last week for me.
Yeah, I haven't had a planning board meeting. We did have an inspectors meeting on Thursday. Dawn, can you forward me a copy of the incident action plan that Bill Seaman sent to you? With regards to events?
Sure, absolutely.
Susan, you can sit up
Actually, we're gonna do a quasi for the event coming up. I contacted her, and she's going to be coming to sit with Graham, Rich, and I.
I'd like to capture more of that. This is two parts, but having a set plan for if there's X number of people going, we've talked about this before. The other thing that we spoke about at the inspectors meeting was revisiting our fee schedule. As far as the inspectors, what they're paid to go out and what an actual fee costs, but also fines for not pulling a permit or doing work without a permit. All those things are things we're looking at. So that's in process. Probably gonna be something more as we get into the winter months when things kind of slow down and we don't have a million projects going on, but those guys are thinking about it and,
Under the municipal budget committee, the municipal budget committee did meet last night. They are still have open positions.
how many?
Two, there's two. They were gonna check with a couple of people that expressed interest in the past, to see if they could bring that up to, you know, if they'd be interested in joining. They're gonna have a separate meeting on October 7th, just to see about, nominating people for the committee before they start their work.
How short are young people?
At least two.
I'd recommend that we put that on our webpage and also on the bulletin board.
I believe it is, isn't it?
It's been on the webpage.
It's been on.
But
Is
I
it on?
can see, I'm not sure if Ellen put it on, I will, because we're kind of,
On the,
They had some people they were gonna ask.
Who is the chairman now?
The chairman is now Axel Prophet.
so you don't want to open that up to the public?
It was already put. We've solicited,
Was it on the bulletin board?
I don't know if it was on the bulletin board, I'll have to check with Ellen, I can't remember, but I know it's right on the front page of the website, it has
It is
been.
not on the bulletin board.
You're gonna find, I mean, I think you're gonna find more people that are gonna see it on the bulletin board than on our website.
okay,
I'll get Ellen and Adam to do that.
okay. We'll get it and you can forward it to Axel Prophet, those that are interested.
While we're at it, are there any other vacancies in any other committees?
I think there are.
There's an alternate position for the planning board open.
I mean, maybe we advertise at the same time, looking for volunteers.
Yeah.
Put it on Facebook.
None?
Seems to be where everybody's got the great ideas. Really express their desire to help the town.
Maybe they'd like to be a per diem firefighter, or ambulance attendant.
There you go. And then I would say it's probably in a new business, Chairman, but I don't know if this board would be interested in entertaining, now that the new budget season is coming, possibly looking at doing bi-weekly paychecks for the employees. It would save a lot of money. But, you know, we could look at, you know, it's early enough if we're gonna implement that for January or even April. But I don't know if the board's interested in entertaining that. I could,
What's the cost savings?
paper fees, manpower, you're only doing the payroll once every, 26 weeks versus 52 weeks.
Said we do payroll in-house, right?
Yeah, but
So the
still, it
person's
just makes
still
it
gonna work.
easier to, it's easier for billing purposes, audits.
Yeah, but the only thing you're gonna save money on is the,
Print their checks, but it makes it a lot easier.
Well, if you do that in conjunction with a direct deposit, a mandatory direct deposit, which most, this is one of the few businesses I've been around that allows you to still get a paper check, that's a substantial savings if you require a direct deposit. If you're not printing out paper checks and you're only doing payroll twice a week, it adds up.
Every 2 weeks, you mean?
Or, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
bi-weekly.
Did you discuss it with Cindy?
No, I
she-
didn't. I figured before I do that, I'd see if it's something the board would,
I wondered if she had raised it as an issue.
no, she didn't. I was just thinking,
I'd like to know what her recommendations would be.
okay. I will, bring it up to her and see what she suggests.
Did you get the notice on the, from Grace Wood of Blackfin TV? That's probably something the PD might wanna, in case they get some calls. I had spoken to Cindy, did everybody get an update on the 3/25 expenditures? Mm-hmm. In their file, because I know there was some questions, on trust funds and that stuff. They depleted those first?
I met with him.
Okay. So you got the update?
I'll say I got the update.
Okay.
The only question I had, and I could just ask Cindy myself, last time, what I don't see here is it talks about the program books, what it made and all that, but it doesn't say what the cost was for printing.
Oh, I saw it in there.
No, it covers everything, unless you saw it and I missed it. You know, it shows that we made 7,220.
What was that cost on the plates?
It's right on the front page. Let's see,
Celebration
Ex-
Plate, $2,972.70.
yeah.
So we broke even on that?
Well, you made
Made a little money.
$300, give or take.
North Boston Media Group, is that? the-
No, those are ads, I think. The book would have cost more than $733 and $400.
That the TCI Press Incorporated, $6,285.
Could be. Where do you see that?
Expenses.
Could be then TCI Press. I wonder if that's it. That was my only, I was kind of curious on that.
$285 against.
That's a generous donation from the All-American Assisted Living, huh?
Yeah, and they gave to the fire department.
Program book brought in 7220, and if that TCI Press is correct, but I don't seem to remember signing that. Made $1,000.
What was the sweepstakes income?
I wasn't sure of that one.
Was that dinner?
Yeah. Hmm?
Oh.
They gave out, yeah, that was the, dinner.
Well, I may have comments next week. To go through the whole thing.
I'd like to look at this.
Okay. I know you had some issues, questions, so I asked Cindy if she could prepare us a spreadsheet.
Yeah, this is great. I did speak with Cindy about some of the things I had questions on, and we discussed it.
All right. How about a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the public and non-public minutes of September 9th, 2019 as written, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions? Okay. got a couple of legal issues for non-public. Anybody got anything else? All set? Okay, that'll conclude the televised portion of our meeting. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.